Hi, and welcome back. Thanks for joining with me once again as we talk about some of the ancient religions and the development of spirituality. As always, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and leave your comments, questions, and suggestions in the comments section under this video, and I'll try to answer them. Today, we're talking about fire in worship. And before you shut off the video and think that's really very strange, let me mention some other things in our natural and physical world that are used in worship. And one of them, the first and foremost one, is water. And in Christianity, for example, water is used in baptism. When people are sprinkled or dipped into the water, the belief is that somehow through this ceremony, their sins are forgiven and they're given a special spirit from the Lord of all. And sometimes they want to go to the Holy Land and be baptized in the Jordan River, as that's the place where John the Baptist baptized Jesus, the leader of that religion, Christianity, and that somehow being baptized in that water will be different. That water is different than the Mississippi or the St. Lawrence or the Nile or the Ganges, and some of those are holy places and holy rivers for other religions. Hindus believe in special ceremonial bathing, and so did the Jews, who bathed before going into the temple and used water for ritual cleansing. And we use bread, especially in the communion services in the Eucharist of Christianity. Once the prayer of consecration has been said over bread, then it must be treated in very specific ways because it has been changed from its natural state to a more holy position. And wine is also used in the same way. Even olive oil is used symbolically in religions to represent the spirit, and it's used extensively in religious ceremonies. So even though the use of fire may seem strange to some of us, the idea is welcomed by the Orthodox Church, who await the um, distribution of holy fire in their ceremonies. Well, today I want to talk to you about fire temples and uh, Persia and India and Iran. And fire temples are places of worship currently in the Zoroastrian religion that I've talked about before. And I mentioned fire temples, but I want to give us a little bit more detail. They were originally called by the Persians houses of fire, but they're best known today by the name given them by the Greeks from their word pyrothea, which means a fire temple. They're thought to have originated in ancient Iran by the custom of keeping the hearth fire burning during the life of the head of the household. And that tradition then developed into the ever burning flame kept alive in honor and symbolizing a place of divinity, of divine worship. Early Iranian religion venerated a god of fire, Attar, who was fire itself, but transcended earthly fire as a divine entity created by the king of the gods, Ahura Mazda. Well, after Zoroaster or Zarathustra, um, between 1500 and 1000 BCE, established the monotheistic religion of Zoroastrianism. Ahura Mazda became the supreme being, and Atar, along with many other the gods of the old religion, became emanations or manifestations, avatars of the one true God. The fire temples at about that time were probably changed from outdoor altars to enclosures. Um, they didn't actually worship the fire itself. The Greeks called them fire worshippers, but that wasn't really accurate. They worship the divine who is represented by this fire. So the vitality of fire, the warmth, the protection, and the cleansing and transformative nature of fire symbolized these same aspects in Ahura Mazda, the god. Fire temples reached their height of sophistication about between, well, in the 3rd to the 7th century of the Common Era, between 224 and 651 CE. But after the Muslim invasion in 651, fire temples were destroyed and they were converted to mosques. Zoroastrians are said to have kept some of the flames from these temples burning in secret, however, and they used them to light later fires when they built new temples, notably those of the Parsis in India, and they preserved the Zoroastrian traditions and later built fire temples in that country. And in present day, these fires continue to burn in India and Iran and elsewhere in the world, all around the world, where they are kept by the Zoroastrian community. It seems for sure that fire was an important element in early Persian worship. It's not only the source of light and heat in the home, but it was also used in the legal system in some way. The guilt or innocence of a person accused of a wrongdoing was determined by some type of ordeal by fire. You know, as we look at the ancient religions and going back far in time, we see many of the groups that I will try to get us some information about worshiped fire and worshiped the sun. They worshiped a lot of elements of nature, but many turned to the sun god as the ultimate source of life on earth because of its provision of light and heat. Now, the hearth was an integral part of everybody's life. And besides its practical uses, it symbolized the presence of God in one's home. So the practice of starting a fire in the hearth when you set up a new home and keeping it burning throughout the life of the head of the household is thought then to have inspired the religious use of fire that developed into outdoor rituals centered around an altar, and the fire was kept burning. And at these rituals, the elements of fire, air, earth, and water are honored because at that time each represented a deity. But fire, as in the other ancient religions that worshiped the sun, was central. Now, early Iranian religion was an oral tradition, so it's impossible for us to really know the forms that these early rituals took, or exactly how and when the fire temple developed. But the fire temple we know was erected as a place considered sacred to the god. And it may have been erected in a place that was already considered that. Archaeology has found very often that one faith moving into an area will build upon the places that were already designated as sacred by the previous religion. Well, throughout the latter part of the 7th century, the Persian Empire fought off the um, Muslim Arabs, but they finally fell, as I said, in 651. And afterwards, Zoroastrianism, along with many of the other aspects of the Persian culture, was suppressed. And the fire temples were destroyed, along with any written texts that had developed, and they were converted, if not destroyed, converted into mosques. And so this period is cited by many scholars as the reason why it's so difficult to identify the ruins of the fire temples in the region, because they were so completely destroyed. And those that weren't destroyed or changed into mosques at the time of the Arab invasion were ruined or completely obliterated by the later Mongol invasions. Now, in the 7th and 8th centuries, many Zoroastrians fled the area of modern day Iran for other regions, especially northern India, as I mentioned before. And that is where the Parsis later developed and built their fire temples. After the Muslim Arab persecution of Iranian Zoroastrians relaxed, the religion was revived in Iran, where fire temples were rebuilt or new ones were created at sacred sites. In Iran, one of the extant fire temples is that temple at Yazd. It was founded in 1934, and it is said that its fire has been burning continuously since the year 470 CE. Now, if this is so, this fire would have been among those that were kept secret and moved from place to place during the persecutions by the Muslim Arabs. Well, I hope this has been informative and you've learned something about the fire temples. I'm going to end with a short video of just some photographs of fire temples, especially the one at Yazd. And I want to say that I'm going to include in the description a a bit of information about Joshua J. Mark. Good deal of the information that I included in my talk here today is from his work. There will be a link to that site, the Ancient History Encyclopedia, and his article. And it was last modified on February 11th of this year. So this is current information, good information for us, and I hope you'll check out his article and read it in full. So next Saturday, I hope to be able to upload another video, and I do my best to release each Saturday for those of you interested in these topics. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you back here next week at this time.